All right, one of the things I want to talk about with regard to motherhood and work is a tendency of some conservative Christians when they're trying to react against feminism and react against egalitarianism and try to reestablish the high calling of motherhood and so forth, is that some appear to have gone back to a Norman Rockwell vision of America and Norman Rockwell vision of motherhood. Others go back further into a 19th century
Victorian.
Victorian
Huge puff sleeves.
yeah, the puff-sleeved
Yes.
approach, and you don't ever when you look at that vision of motherhood, you don't the concept of work and getting down there, you know, laundry and diapers and food prep and stuff. That seems to be discreetly out of
Right.
view. Have you encountered that over-romanticized view of motherhood, and what do you think can happen to young Christian wives as they become mothers, and that's not what happens to them?
Strangely not so rosy. I think it's totally because motherhood is something that many young girls look forward to for a long time in their lives, and it is easy to kind of idealize, like this is this surreal state when we finally achieve getting to be a mother. And I think that those different eras of women just comes from whatever era they admired. You know, like I read some book that I thought seemed fabulous, and they get this mental image of what it will be like when I'm there, and it will be so beautiful.
Sort of a combination of daydreams. Like
exactly. Like you have this sort of foggy future world where these things will, and I can remember feeling that way, like thinking, but I know when I have kids, I would still get a headache. Like I'll still be a person, and you think like even a more modern example probably from like my childhood would be something like a coffee commercial where it's the rosy glow in the home and someone looking great coming out to pour themselves a cup of coffee, and they might be talking about my busy day or whatever, but it's not the way many mothers feel when they drag into their kitchen. And I think that it's easy to get that state for all kinds of things, not just motherhood, just like what it will be like to be married, what it will be like to
really work hard at
be
a
an
job.
empty nester. I don't know. I think people can do it about anything. But I think the real danger is the people who should know better, who promote it that way, because young girl fantasies is one thing, but it seems to me like people fall into two camps after that. They either say motherhood's really important, so they talk about it like it's almost an unfallen state of tender care for a soul, like this is such an, wonderful, rich time, which it is, but they talk about it like there's no
sin in the world.
Yeah. Or there's people who say, well, let me tell you the real deal. Like, I'm going to let it all hang out here about how awful this is. And so it seems like it's a total one or the other. Like, either this is disgusting. Let me tell you what pregnancy is really like, like.
Right, let me tell you my horror
There's
stories.
varicose veins, people. Let's talk about all of that. And then, and so I feel like and this is something that is what Christianity does in all the world is make those two things meet: a fallen world with a redemption, with a hope of.
So there's a possibility of nobility and honor and high calling. That
meeting dirty diapers.
Meeting dirty.
Yes, and the really important thing about Christian mothering is joy in that transformation from one thing to another, and not discouragement. And I think that is very common to think. If you think really highly of motherhood, then you're a very easy target to be discouraged when you feel yourself failing.
All right, so would it be fair to say that the answer to an over-romanticized approach to motherhood would be the realities of incarnation? Mm-hmm. So if you have a high view of Jesus, it's easy to picture him staying in heaven. Mm-hmm. And if you go the liberal route, well, you say Jesus became a man, and then you've detached your connection to heaven. That's not the incarnation either. But if he's the Son of God and he came down here, you've got a marriage between heaven and earth. You've got a marriage between nobility and the practical day-to-day
Exactly. And
grind.
I think that the thing that Christian mothers really need to work on is identifying what's actually happening, because there's a lot of emotions when you're dealing with little kids anyways, and they're not all yours, not the kids, their emotions are yours, and you have emotions, and there's this situation, but like to try to see clearly what you need to do now to get out of this or to get into, without thinking that the only right way to mother is to be in your gown with your child standing by a arch of a rose hedge. Like, that's it. That's what you do if you're doing it right.
with puffy sleeves.
Yes.
So motherhood in a Thomas Kincaid painting.
Yeah.
So all right.
And yeah, very discouraging for people who want to be a good mother and all they see is themselves failing.
So there are people there are people out there who've been parents and they should know better, but they're for some reason portraying this high, noble, lofty calling. Maybe they don't know how much impressionable young girls will bring their own daydreams to that.
Maybe. I think some of it probably, this is kind of a wild guess, but it has to do with the same thing you see in many Christian churches, pretending we're all good, pretending everything's great. We actually have horrible marriage problems, but we're not going to let anybody else at church pick up on that. And I think that happens more as some women wanting to praise their own work because nobody knows better.
Right.
Like, I'm putting forward a false front on this because it makes me look awesome. Like, if you all think I had 3 children and I still think it's like that, then it puts a lot of, like, wow, you're very spiritual.
Right.